Okay, thank you. We're joined this afternoon by Deepak Verma, who runs part of the North American Analytics and Insight groups from TCS. So Deepak, thanks very much for coming to MarkLogic World 2018 here in San Francisco. Tell us about your role, what you're doing at TCS, and why you're here.
Sure, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for having us here and helping us build our partnership at MarkLogic. I'm with TCS. TCS has a unit called Analytics and Insights. Analytics and Insights is a combined unit. All things data have been brought together from multiple units of TCS. So Analytics and Insights is focusing on data services, business analytics. So my role is to lead the North America unit for data services in ANI TCS.
How many people in your team then?
So broadly in TCS, Analytics and Insights has 30,000 associates working with close to 600 of our customers.
Spanning all verticals?
Yes, spanning all verticals, all geographies. So 30,000 associates are focusing on all things data.
Thank you, Deepak and TCS, for sponsoring MarkLogic World 2018. You have a stand here and you brought many of your team members and representation from your MarkLogic Center of Excellence as well. This all leads me to ask, in what areas, are there particular verticals in which TCS is seeing the adoption of MarkLogic, this disruptive technology and database?
Absolutely. So while we are part of this Analytics and Insights unit, we get to engage with customers very early on when they are into a data-related problem state, where we identify the problem, try to figure out what are the use cases, where should we lead them to. So there are specific verticals like banking and financials is a key vertical, manufacturing is a vertical where we are finding out opportunities. Media and entertainment industry is certainly one of the strongest vertical that we have had together. So data related disruption is happening. Earlier these kinds of tools and technologies were not available, but now when they are accessible, we are finding out business and IT coming together and trying to solve some problems that they couldn't do earlier.
With manufacturing in mind and the notion of Industry 4.0, are there particular areas specific to manufacturing where you think there's opportunity for change?
Absolutely, yes. A couple of years back, around 2012-13 timeframe, Industry 4.0 was termed as an official term. Although these undercurrents had been there in the past, but now manufacturers are realizing that if they don't catch this fourth wave of industrial revolution, they would be out of business. TCS has been interacting with some customers who are in a state of shock. They really want to get there. They understand that if they are not really going ahead and leveraging some of these latest and the greatest innovations that have come up in the data space, some of them may be out of business. And that is how we see some of these pillars around cloud, analytics, big data, microservices, all coming together for Industry 4.0. We are finding out customers, some of them in the early stages and some of them have started realizing some benefits out of that in the last 2 years, and we'll be talking further during the panel.
In relation to manufacturing, is there a particular area in manufacturing? Is it the discrete manufacturing or process manufacturing? Is it part of the chain of the manufacturer? Is there a particular area that you're focused on?
See, although we are finding out need for this innovation and in Industry 4.0 almost all over the place, but primarily we have had phenomenal success in the process manufacturing and specifically in the automobile industry. That is where, as you can understand, autonomous cars are coming up. Many companies who used to be extremely proud about their engineering aspect have started to figure out how every product that they're building, how every design that they're making can have some kind of an IT embedded in that. So embedded technologies and Industry 4.0 brings that innovation for them. We are working with a tier 1 manufacturer, tier 1 auto parts manufacturer. Obviously they are industry leaders, but they are figuring out that by 2025, when autonomous cars are going to be around, how their current product is going to have a drastically different outlook. How the digital is going to sit inside the product rather than just outside it. To take an example, let's say 2025, we have autonomous cars coming up. An autonomous car is going to run on its own. An autonomous car can run forward, backward. So it doesn't mean that the drivetrain that goes inside the car will only take it this way. The car can move on both the directions like a train engine or locomotive can. In an autonomous car, we may not be all sitting straight. We all might be sitting like a lounge. So the seat belts, the seats, the safety and everything else might have to be redesigned. So we are talking to some of the world's greatest seat manufacturers, seat belt manufacturers, drivetrain manufacturers, and we are helping them lead towards that future.
That's very interesting. Okay, thank you. A moment ago you touched on cloud. This morning we heard from our MarkLogic CEO Gary Bloom about cloud neutrality and the need for enterprises to consider and really pay attention to cloud. What are your thoughts about cloud neutrality?
Sure. So while I get to cloud neutrality, I would mention how we have been seeing this space. There was a time couple of years back when almost every client would say it's not secure for me, and now cloud has become the most secure place where you can have your data. When it comes to getting onto cloud, we believe that 70 to 80% of our customers are all thinking about multi-cloud scenario, whether it is public cloud or private cloud. Obviously they don't want to have all the eggs in the same basket, but there are different vendors who are offering very unique services with respect to the top 3 vendors that we are aware of. So people are trying to take maximum advantage of some unique services that people provide. So I'm glad MarkLogic has an approach towards all the major cloud providers, which makes you go boundless. Which doesn't puts you under any kind of a constraints with respect to one or the other provider.
We also heard from Gary this morning and others about another way around ETL. So you guys do, I'm sure TCS and all the other vendors do a lot of transformational work and ETL work, but MarkLogic is really breaking down that barrier. Can you comment on how you are seeing that and where you're seeing that in your businesses?
Absolutely. So as we can understand, ETL has been a predominant part of all the data migrations that have been happening in the past. So there was a time when all about data was there, people would stand up big data environments, but that data would have no information coming out of that. With MarkLogic coming into picture, we have been able to see a big squeeze in the entire ETL process. The ETL is no longer ETL, but it's ELT. And the use cases that we see primarily with MarkLogic with some of our major customers are about fast track movement of that data, so that data is available in a smart repository where it is searchable in a better fashion. So we have seen shrinkage of the overall ETL time frame, more agile programs coming up. With that initial success, customers are confident to take the same piece of MarkLogic into multiple divisions, multiple use cases. So obviously the IT time is reducing. Not a great news for us, but we would also like to have our people spend more productive time rather than just doing a repeatable ETL onto the system. What we also recommend is MarkLogic has been able to not only create a smart repository of the data, the phenomenal searches, but I heard earlier in the session about the master data aspect, the fuzzy matching aspects and some of these things. If you're doing that, that's awesome, because that way a customer doesn't need to go to 4 different vendors and trying to take care of their data need. It's all available at one place.
Mm-hmm. Yes, good. And we did also hear, obviously, MarkLogic's messaging around integrating data from silos and data integration. What do you think is, what do you think will be the trends going forward, say fast forward a year or 2 from now? Around, do you think we're going to continue to move into integrating data from? What is your anticipation for the next year or 2?
Sure. So data integration has such a long history to that. If we talk about today, the good part is the industry today with respect to data integration has learned a lot from the previous scenarios. When in 1990 the EAI has come up, it was pretty simple, but it was not able to handle the complex data integration needs. In the last 5 years, we have seen a trend of business customers really coming up and say, do we really need to have those months and months of project to do that basic integration? Businesses are trying to take some part of that and trying to take it to a self-service mode where they can go ahead and do some level of data integration on their own. Self-service BI is what we continuously see. Now it can have multiple dimensions to it. How much of it is self-service and how much do they need to integrate with IT? So when we engage with these programs, we try to bring IT and business together. We have been able to very effectively work with the MarkLogic customers in bringing that self-service aspect to that. As far as the future of integration is concerned, we believe that data movements will reduce a little bit. We'll try to take the process to the data, and quicker and better outcome from that integration is what customers are looking at, rather than just moving around the data, because moving around the data requires more data quality measures, more data governance, more work, more effort, more cost.
Yeah, and I think that fits well with what we heard this morning about identifying the business problem first in the business, rather than let's take the data and make it available, versus let's look at the business problem first. So it seems that would fit with your.
It is such a very important term. Our CEO Rajesh Gopinathan has termed something called Business 4.0 as the key objective of TCS. Business 4.0 stands on 4 key terms, which exactly is in line with MarkLogic's thought and the future. Business 4.0's first objective is integrating with business's need. Rather than just deploying some people towards the IT, we end up bringing IT and business more closer than they were in the past. So integrating around business needs, identifying the key business problem, turning that into some IT use cases which could lead to any kind of projects is our first goal. Second is having more agile programs, because nobody has an appetite to wait for 2 to 3 years and then get the results. You won't like to spend $2 million, couple of years before even getting to know any ROI. So agile. Third is cloud is all over the place. So we consider cloud is a key aspect, and within TCS we have a term called data estate modernization. Taking from where the customer is today to their future state, which may require complete redesign, which may require some level of tuning, which may require some kind of a mass migration. And apart from these third 3 items, the fourth item and the most important item is integrating multiple offerings. We have come across customers who reached out to us with a major mobility problem, but when we really went inside the hoods, it was not a mobility problem, it was a data problem, and it was an infrastructure problem. So we have to bring in multiple offerings that industry offers to get that problem solved. In fact, Harvard Business Review came up with a study that if a customer is going with one digital technology, their chances of success may be 30 to 20%, but if they try to combine more than one technology, such as big data and cloud, the chances would go to 50 to 60%. If they combine more than one, the chances are 80%, and there are proven results on that. So that is why we are going for our Business 4.0 model, mapping to what MarkLogic offers.
I see. Okay, and then final question for you here is, with your A&I team and MarkLogic combined, what is the secret sauce that is going to really move a customer to say, okay, let's move forward on this project with TCS and MarkLogic? What's the TCS secret sauce there?
I'm glad you asked that question. That is just not for MarkLogic, but for all of our major partners that we have trust on. Most of the time, as we were discussing with Gary yesterday, a program would go through at least 5 to 6 months of a cycle, even before the software is sold. There is a time when business has a problem. Sometimes they talk to IT, sometimes not. That problem has to be well understood, and a recommended solution has to be given which can address that need. Rather than taking that program from point A to point B, we tend to believe that this program has to go in such a manner, even if it has to have some kinds of turns, to make sure that it is able to address multiple business beneficiary programs along the way. So the secret sauce is to get in touch a little early in the game. If we keep waiting for a business problem to be turned into an IT use case and an RFP to come MarkLogic way and all, at that moment, our ways of influencing that decision really reduces significantly. So we believe we engage our partners early in the game. Likewise, we request MarkLogic to engage us early in the game, so we are able to better influence the solution, and the customer has a great success for years to come. And by the way, the trust factor comes a lot. We've had some phenomenal relationships in the past, and as we move forward, if we are able to have that executive to executive connect as well as the ground field level people working together, we may have multiple engines working for our joint success as we move on.
Very good. Agreed. Thanks again for being here today.
Thank you very much, Jeff. It was a great time.